board on this computer. Great. Period. From which company are you? You are muted if you're talking.
Good evening, everyone. Sorry about that. I was having an issue with my microphone. Sorry for joining a little bit late, juggling work and then having to join into this meeting. Yeah, it's kind of busy, but I'm glad I could make it. I'm from the Alan Gray Toastmasters Club.
Wonderful. So this afternoon, it looks like we have a ladies session on board at the moment, and that's great. Let's do this, ladies. Let's do that. Now, when it comes to corporate payments, there is a huge process that can take place between, in one corporate, it can be easy, another corporate, it can be far more difficult. So I would like to just start off by saying, when it comes to beginning the process when we work with corporates, the most important thing is to have a mandate from the Learning and Development Department regarding the actual club. And what are some of the items that a mandate should incorporate? And I'm going to handle what the mandate should have, and I'm going to handle then how does that influence what happens in the club? So the first things that there should be on a mandate is we need to know who's the corporate going to pay for in full. Would it be just top management? Would it be middle management? Is it open to everybody in the company? Is it open to other branches as well? Who will the corporate be willing to pay? Then the second thing is, if the corporate is going to be paying, what do they expect for their money? And how can we measure that they're getting that? And that's where it's critical that there is some kind of an agreement made. That if the corporate says, okay, we'll pay for everybody, and then there's two things that should be in the agreement. The first thing is, what does the corporate expect? How often should the person attend meetings? Now, we normally see that most corporate clubs have 2 meetings a month. And so if you take it over a 6-month period, it's about 12 meetings. And that makes it the easiest. In that 6-month period, how many meetings would the corporate expect them to be there? 4 out of the 6, 5 out of the 6, 6 out of the 6, whatever it is anticipated. Then the next thing is, what education will the corporate expect them to complete? 2 projects, 3 projects in that 6-month period. Now, most of the time, it depends on how many members are actually in the corporate club. So if there aren't many members, there will be more speaking opportunities, depending also on your meetings, the length of your meetings and how many people are able to present projects. That also calculates within that. So let's say you have 3 speakers in a meeting, then it is 3 times 12. Sorry. And that is how many speaking slots there are. That means 36 speaking slots are going to be there. And if you have 20 people in the club, it means kind of 1.5 times or something to that extent. Will you be able to do projects? So it has to be calculated. And the reason why we bring this in is because we find 2 things happen. One, corporates will put money in, but sometimes in the clubs, there's no meetings happening, or people are just not pitching up last minute or anything like that. So when we put parameters in like that, and people realize that if the company's paying for something, I've got to do something to bring my part of saying thank you for this learning and development opportunity. And that is a reasonable mandate that needs to be established in order to go forward. Just a question around you ladies. Do any of you have such agreements, whether it's written or whether it's verbal? Is there anybody that has some kind of agreement like that?
Thank you. Or not on our side. There's nothing that it's written down.
Okay.
No, we don't have an agreement, nothing that is written down. But we know that we have, for example, we know that usually 8 of our members or up to 9, they usually renew their membership. So we know that we do have that 8 that is required.
Okay.
But there is no,
there's no agreement like that. Okay. Thank you, Shana.
Yeah.
Okay. Shana, thank you. Your hand is up.
Hi, please bear with me. I'm not a Zoom aficionado. I'm more of a Teams person. So if I get it wrong, my apologies. We don't have a formal agreement, although we are working on one. So what we've done within our organization is we originally had 2 clubs, which became 3, and quickly we determined that a need for an executive club there was a need for an executive club because it deals with a different level, number one, of Toastmaster. Number 2, they are able to strategically assist us, the other clubs. I mean, we've got over 28,000 people in our company, so it's not a small company. But from a management point of view, there's a lot of questions like, what do my staff members benefit from this and that? So as an executive member, they see the value. So we've started the first step by saying, okay, if you want to be a Toastmaster, you have to have your manager's approval, number 1, and number 2, you have to add it to your learning plan. Right. So, but the next step that we're now sitting on is, okay, how do we submit? What is the requirements, number 1, and number 2, how do you determine progress?
Right.
So that's the space that we're in now. So this is actually quite fortuitous that we're able to have this discussion, because I think I'll take some very valuable points out of here. Because so thanks. But yes, so we have half of it. Half of that process.
Good. So can you see that before we can actually go anywhere, there needs to be some kind of reasonable mandate, and one has to just calculate a little bit as to what can be a reasonable mandate for the different groups of people that you have and how it will fit in best to the company. I don't believe there's one glove that fits all or one shoe that fits all. You have to tailor make it, but these are critical things to think at. And also, when people are at a meeting, so let's say you must at least attend 4 of the 6 meetings. And when you attend those meetings, you need to fulfill a role. That way, we make sure that there is development taking place, that people are taking up some kind of a role when they attend as well. So the critical aspects to consider is what you have added, Shana, is if there needs to be a manager's approval, that one can put that in, if that is important. And if you have a learning and development set up, if I can put it that way, how do you make it fit into that learning and development setup? And then 2 critical factors, attendance and education obtained, either through the roles that they have participated in being there or education that they've grown themselves with as well. So that was the first place I'd like to start, because the one thing that I have noticed is that retention only takes place when people experience something positive. If somebody is easy to just drop off because they feel, oh, I just don't have time for this, or I don't, and they have lame excuses and they don't pitch up, and they are most likely not to renew. But, you know, there's the old saying, success breeds success. And when people start flourishing, when they begin to gain their confidence, the way they speak, there was a president of also a banking club that said to me, you know, what really was extremely valuable for me in my Toastmasters experience is how I became confident in handling a meeting. Previously, they were not confident at all, but Toastmasters gave them confidence in just the structure of a meeting and how to handle it and make boom, 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 make sure it's on time. And that set her up for huge success. So as we push people, so to speak, through this education program, and they start experiencing success, they want to come back and then they want to renew. So if we look at a Toastmasters Club as a business, and one of the things that I talk about sometimes is Toastmasters, my school of business, I just feel that it's really critical that whatever we do, even though this is a nonprofit organization and we are all volunteers, but everything we do needs to be successful, flourish, and have profit. Because then Toastmasters becomes our learning environment, our training ground for our success. And that means if we think of our clubs as a business, even though it's part of a corporate club, but just on its own, think of it as a business. How would this business within the business thrive and not just survive? And within that, we then set up things like, or we encourage things like thinking about this as a business. How do we handle income? Now, there is another banking club that have opened up their own club bank account. It's a banking club, but they've opened up their own bank account and they charge the bank, that's their corporate, a particular fee, which is not just the $45 for renewals, etc. They have a bit of an increase there. Plus, they market to their corporate speech crafts, and then they kind of sell those speech crafts to the corporate, and that's how they make an income into their corporate club. What do they do with the money? Well, they do utilize it in the following manner, which is brilliant. And I want to encourage you to think of something like that. I think I just saw Francois joined a little moment ago. Hello, Francois. Welcome here and good to see you. Good to have you around. So I interrupted myself and I do that often. Where was I? Oh, yes. The speech craft. I'm back again. What do they do with this money that they get if they charge that little bit extra, the corporate? And maybe they don't charge the $45, maybe they charge $55 or $50 or whatever the case may be. And they then have these speech crafts where they charge the corporate not outrageously, but substantially. Then like now, April is coming, and this is the time that we all need to have elections. We need to call in the IPP to set up a committee and to inquire who all wants to be elected and is ready to stand in for a position. Now, I know you're saying, I thought we were here for payment. This is all part of payment. Just listen. And you can ask questions and you'll be happy you stayed for this. So what happens then is that extra monies that come in, the club officers that are elected now also have to have a mandate to say, well, if you want to qualify for this special, then You need to do this, this, and that. So what is the special? Depending on how much income is generated in their period from the speech crafts and the extra little bits. Let's say they have a 20,000 kitty. Now, with Toastmasters International, you may not gain profits and just grow profits, but you can grow your profits in your Toastmasters year to utilize in your Toastmasters year. So how do you do that legally? By having those speech crafts, growing your funds. Now you tell the club officers that come on board, if you do your tasks the way you need to, and who has ever experienced, just give me some kind of emoji, if you've experienced club officers that don't do their work and how it just drags a group down. Is there anybody that's experienced club officers that don't do their work? Okay, I see one set of tears. Yep, we have some people that can relate to that. So here is an inspiration for them to do their work. If they do their work according to this, then in January, we will check what they've done up until that point. Because normally, District 74 has a MayCon in the first weekend in May, and that May conference is in various places. This year, it's going to be in Victoria Falls. So let's say a 20,000 Rand, I'm using Rand because most people are from South Africa here. If the company club generated a 20,000 throughout the year with their speechcraft, etc., they divide that 20,000 by the club officers that tick the boxes, they have done their work. So now let's say 5 of the club officers qualified. That means 4,000 per club officer goes towards, because, you know, conferences are expensive. It's the transport to get there. It's the actual conference payment. It's the accommodation. It is pricey. And that makes it such an amazing incentive, because Toastmaster says you can use a speechcraft, the speechcraft funds, for club members to grow their education. And when they go to MayCon, it is a huge educational leap and an encouragement. And that's when we have the Hall of Fame. So if your club did anything great, you can go and celebrate in person receiving the awards. Is there anybody here encouraged to have speechcrafts? Did anybody see a business opportunity here? Or are you just all dumbfounded by that? So, thank you. Now, if your club does not have its own bank account, you do need to make some arrangements that your treasurer has a bookkeeping style to be able to keep track of this. But I sincerely encourage you to make sure you have your own bank account so that you can do all these things and pay for everything. And the thing is, if you've charged the company, the money is in your bank account, and it's much easier for you to just go pay Toastmasters, go pay whatever you need to pay, and you don't have this huge, long waiting period to make things process. Okay. So now that we have that out of the way, the next step is it's time for renewals. I've seen that for most corporates, it can even take up to 3 months for it to process. Is there anybody on the group here that can relate to that? That from the time that you tell them it's time for renewals, it can be up to 3 months until it's processed in the corporate. And that doesn't mean to say the corporate is bad. It just means that there's a process that takes place. Yes, some of you can associate. It is just a process. So the thing that we're so excited about at the moment is that you know that the Toastmasters has a close off at every month but it's not like at the end of the month, the next day, the dashboard updates. It's always a few days into it. And when it is these payment periods, it's almost a month into it before they close that off. But when that final period has closed off and updated, immediately it is possible to make the next round of renewals to Toastmasters International. And I want to encourage you as corporate clubs, once the renewals are done, just look for that dashboard to update. Like it's normally, when it's April, it's normally towards the end of April that it updates. And when it's October, it's towards the end of October that that update takes place. Once that is done, immediately begin to process your next renewals so that you have adequate time, that there's no pressure because, come the end of March, and if it wasn't done, then potentially either the members or the club officers have difficulties in processing some things because some things are disabled. So in order to make sure that there's continuous growth, continuous business, continuous education, the moment the dashboard updates, go and prepare the next renewals. Now, within each company, there is its own process. If you need an invoice, there is a standard Toastmasters invoice that when you go on their website to do payments, it asks you if you would like to have an invoice, and you can print it out. It's like a PDF format. And I find some of the actual PCs can't type in some of the areas there, which makes it extremely difficult. So I want to encourage you on that you make sure that you have a type of invoice that can be manipulated in terms of, if you say there's going to be 20 members times 45, that will give you a total. Now, I've created a Excel spreadsheet invoice that can be utilized like that. So if you ever want something like that, please just let me know and I will pop that in for you. The first thing to do is to generate that invoice, but you can only generate that invoice once you have assessed who is renewing, because in a company, people are moving, they either leave or things happen. And so there is a process that needs to happen prior to that, is find out who is renewing. And remember, if you keep your club thinking of it as a business, then your PR would have by then made sure that they've advertised the club in all the different areas and that you constantly have an inflow of more people coming in. Right. Shana, let me just do this here. My memory is full. My PC is full. My memory is full. So I need some help. I'm going to put my WhatsApp number here, +2648125155851. And I will post it here. And I work best on WhatsApp. Please just send me a WhatsApp, and then I will be able to assist you on that. And so I've put my number down there for everybody, I hope, yeah. And you are most welcome to call me if you want. Yes, Shana, do you have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you very much for that. So I'm actually on the Treasurer's WhatsApp group. So I didn't think about grabbing your number from there. So absolutely, I'll contact you via that. Thank you very much. Okay. Yeah, brain's not thinking after a long day.
Look, we can all associate with that. Okay. Now, so we've established a mandate. We're running as a business. We established who will be on board to go further as members, either new ones or the ones that are renewing. We generated the invoice, we handed it into whichever department it is, and now we need to just track it and watch it. And once that is done, the company has made the payment to Toastmasters International, I want to just go back to the invoice and say, here's some critical things that I want you to think about when it comes to the payments. Number one, when you're working with corporates, normally clubs have around 20 members. Some have less, others have more, but work on a number of 20. And I tell you why. I think, was it you, Piwe, or Tandukazi, one of you were telling me about 8 members. And I hear you on having those few members. But remember, if we're looking at as a business, we need to have a successful business. And in Toastmasters language, it means having a quality club. So how do you have a quality club? A minimum of 20 members. Why? Because if you have a meeting where you have 5 speakers, 5 evaluators, 5 table topic speakers, you've already got 15 people. And then you still need the Toastmaster of the day, the general evaluator, the grammarian, the timer. You know, if you carry on like that, you need 20 people so that everyone coming to the meeting has one focus. They can develop that role and do well in that role instead of everybody having to take 2 or 3 roles on at a time. And then they're not good enough in any one of them. So that's why Toastmasters from research has seen, if we have a quality club, it's the best member experience. And the last thing on that I want to bring to you is, please, if there's one thing, I kind of like, the Bible has a strong word. It says, I beseech you. It means like I'm grabbing hold of you and I'm holding you captive so that you can listen to what I'm saying. So I'm hoping you are listening to what I'm saying. I beseech you today. And now I'm so dramatic that I forgot what I wanted to say. And I do this to myself all the time. Okay, let me take a deep breath. Why did I want to beseech you? I was talking about what? Now this one is taking a bit longer to get back.
You were talking about the number of members that you need, about 20 to have a good club experience. Yes. So I think you were about to beseech us to get more members. I think so.
Okay. Well, I beseech you to understand that in order to be successful, Toastmasters has done the research and they say for a quality club, I got it. You've got to have the 20 members. But my beseeching to you is this. Any new person that comes on board, help them understand that yes, Toastmasters is a personal journey that you're going on, but it isn't a personal event. It's a group thing. It's like, think about it. A soccer star will never, ever, ever become a soccer star unless they have a team. You will never, ever, ever grow your communication and leadership skill without your team. Toastmasters learning environment is a team environment, and we've got to have a team mentality. That's what I want to beseech you, because often people come in and they think, I must just go to the education and prepare my speech and come in and deliver my speech and off I go. And if that's the mentality, they never grow well because it is the team. Somebody has to evaluate them. That means they need to be ready to evaluate. And so we have to play the different parts in developing all of us at the same time. So that's critical that we have that mentality and understanding that Toastmasters is a team. Without the team, there's no dream coming to pass. There's no star player, star performer, star communicator, star leader. We need each other. We are a team. Okay, I've spoken a lot now, and I want to just open up for some questions before I then close off with the last few things around member payments and this time of the year. Yes, Thandukazi.
Thank you. I wanted to check what strategy can we use in our in Komani Toastmasters to attract new members, because I think we are struggling when it comes to attract new members, as we get leads, but it does not get to a point whereby we get new members.
Okay.
So I wanted to check any advice on how we can attract new members.
Okay. So remember, I'm talking about, we need to look at this as a business. So when your club officers come on, you tell them, in any business, we have the CEO, the president. We have the learning and development, your VPE. We have the marketing department, your VPM. You have your PR department, VPPR. Can you see how it fits into any club, any company or business that you have? Now, you need to, when you want to bring new club officers in, ask them, what is it that you want to grow yourself in? Because if you want to grow yourself in marketing, then you need to come to the club and do marketing and learn how to do marketing and make it happen. You know, Thandukazi, I am a professional speaker and trainer. And I hated phoning up people to try and get some business. I hated that. It just, let me ask this question. Who of you does not like to receive a rejection? Is there anybody that can associate with me? You don't like rejection. Looks like I'm the only one that doesn't like rejection. Ah, thank you, Francois. There's some more, okay? There's some more of you that don't like rejection. So that's one of the main reasons why people do not follow up on Toastmasters members, because they don't like rejection. Well, I've just learned, and I'm not going to use that here, Thandukazi. Please, Thandukazi, take my telephone number, reach out to me in a WhatsApp, and I will give you the links to that. I've got a complete membership drive. How do you set it up on Facebook? How do you set it up on Zoom or Teams or whatever platform you're using? I don't use the Teams platform, but you can use something similar. The big thing is, in business, your contacts are your biggest assets. So it is learning how to get the assets. Now, you might say, no, but we don't need to reap contacts. We don't need to read assets because we've got a company and we've got a list of who they are. The ones that when the PR department sends out a PR flyer advertising the meeting, and somebody hooked on that and they came to visit or register, maybe they registered but didn't attend, it gives you an indication of a hot lead. That's why you want to have registration forms, and you want to set it up correctly so that you can detect who are the hot leads. Then I have a way in which I extract that. I put it all on the Excel spreadsheet. And now I just begin to, I send a little WhatsApp. I say, I'm available for the next hour to speak and to guide you through Toastmasters because I see you registered for an event, and how can I help you? Then they tell me, oh, you can call now. Then I give them a call. I ask them, there is a way that we go through it, and I can give you YouTube clips and things of what we do and how to set that up. So that's not technically the treasurer call that we're busy with, but relevant for the success of a treasurer. So I'm sharing that with you because that link is there on how to make that happen. Because critical in any business is, number one, you've got to have a great product or service. Toastmasters products and services are extremely great. Number two, you need to market it. That's where we learn how marketing works. The PR to be able to let everybody know, and the marketing to close the sale, because marketing is about closing the sale. And then how to process it, because sometimes people say, yes, I want to, but nobody processes it. So that's critical as well, how to set up the business for processing that as well. And then the most important thing is when somebody becomes a member, does learning and developing have a good onboarding system for them? Because the quickest they can get started, the better. If you have 5 members that join immediately, doesn't matter if you have 2 meetings a month on a Thursday afternoon, just take another day, ask those 5 members, when will it suit you? And create a meeting with them and let them do their icebreakers. Just get them started, and then they can slot into the rest of the meeting. But the more people participate, the more they are active, the more they stay, because success breeds success. I just quickly want to get up. The sun is going to come in on me. I think you can see that, and I'm getting blinded by it. Just give me a second. Thank you. Okay. Any question? Oh, there is a question here that says, outside of the renewal period, how long does it take Toastmasters to allocate funds to member profiles once payment has been made if you pay via EFT? So much faster than this time of the year. If you make those payments, let's say in January for the April dues, it's done. Within a few days, it's done. But here from the end of February, you can wait. You just wait. It's just a long waiting list. Okay, are there any other questions? Please, it's just a handful of us, so be brave and ask your question.
Gosh, I'm trying to find the mute button. Sorry, going to be. So I think for me today has been very useful in that I haven't considered things like, you know, what are we trying to achieve with our members from an educational point of view? Because that ties into renewals. Because we always, when we onboard, we try and say to the managers, you know, at least let your staff member finish the whole pathway. You know, it might take some time, but they really only get the benefit out of a pathway. It's not just a year you're buying. It might be a year or 2, possibly, sorry, excuse me, even 3. So we're offering like speakathons where every other week we're just allowing new members to speak, just so they can get through the first level or 2, so that they get more into a new routine. But it takes time, you know, and it's 4 weeks out of the month that you're busy with. But then how do you go to the manager and say, okay, I think Shana's doing a great job, because you've got to be balanced. So we're trying to work out, we have a general scoring metrics on how you should be performing. So we're saying, okay, so many classes or so much attendance, we propose this is a performing, or this is a non-standard or standard, or however we categorize it, you know, at the time. But yeah, so we're there. And luckily, the reason why I mentioned the Exco Club is because they would give us guidance on what they think is reasonable, because they themselves are participating. So they would see the benefit and they know how the pathway works. So the trickle-down effect is I think significant. But I think for me, the biggest stumbling block is the recognition, or people not being able to access their profiles in that gap. Especially like if you're a renewal and you're on your 3rd project, you know, now you're sitting there and you're going, okay, I'm on level 3 speech 4, but I can't, or speech 2 or whatever, but I can't access my stuff now because, well, my dues are not paid. And then they come and knock on my door and I'm going, dude, I love you, but I paid long ago. You know, that's kind of, so we're trying to encourage people that, okay, if you're going to do a renewal, let's try and download at least your next project or two.
Mm-hmm.
You know, including so it's what you do in that gap.
Yes.
Because the member gets disheartened and then they lose interest.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay for level 1 and 2 because that's kind of generic and you've got level 1 specifically, but even level 2, you know, it's quite generic.
Mm-hmm.
You can work around that. You've got the pathways, you know what your icebreakers are, you know what your first four speeches are. It's easy to do. But yeah, and by then you hope that your stuff has been you know, and then Granny, I know I'm hogging the floor here, but into this, right? Okay, so I've paid a new member, right, on the 9th of February, but this person is not recognized yet by Toastmaster, but they paid, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how do they participate in competitions if they're not considered to be a paid up member, but they're actually a paid up member?
Okay, that is a good question to ask. And normally what happens there is that if it was the 9th of February, first of all, what we would do is we would send the setup, the email with the proof and the names and the way you do it. I don't know whether that person was just one new person you added or whether you did the whole bulk. Which was it?
Combination. Because we've literally every week, we're in a very blessed position in that we've added about 15, 16 new members just in the last 2 month cycle. So we do expect a little bit of attrition as people, you know, say, you know, but you know, the enthusiasm, and it's great. It's been fabulous. We are so blessed.
Okay,
but how do we keep the enthusiasm going?
Right.
If you can't be in a competition.
If it's a new member.
And you want to be, sorry. Yeah.
If it's a new member, they cannot be at a competition. So I presume you're talking about a member that is was a member before and coming back. Am I right?
So in one of the cases, it was actually a renewal.
Yes.
So that's we had a problem with, and it was one of those that was sitting in the 2-3 month cycle. Yes. But the renewal was then paid but not recognized.
Yes.
So you know, sometimes things happen with the payment process. So yeah, you know, how do you handle then something like that? So we managed to find a workaround, but that it's those kind of problems that hamstring your members.
It does.
And especially on speeches competitions, you know, you've got some really good people that you want to go for it, you know. Exactly. This is the second year this lady is participating.
Okay, so here is a critical thing that, you know, if let's say there are two, I'm just going to use something wild. Let's say there are two fish and chip shops next to each other. They are competing for your business. They have to do something to make sure that the one is more unique than the other one, that they're going to get your business. It's critical for them to do that. Why do I share that? That means they have to think strategically, plan strategically, come up with something unique to make it work. And that's the beauty of Toastmasters. It gives us those problems that forces us to then have collaboration with other people on a group, whether it's the VPE group or the treasurer group or whichever group you communicating, but have those conversations, critical conversations, to see how you can strategize to make this thing go forward better. So I would definitely say that one of the strong points that you can do when the one set of renewals are finished to start the next one is to say, hey guys, if you're serious about contest, remember we're going to go into the contest season. Please renew now so that by the time contests come, you're done, you set, and everything is fine. You're in place. So that is like a carrot. And to sit up and create a strategic plan where you say, okay, this is happening then, so we must do this over here already. One of the great advantages in thriving businesses is when people do those creative things to project their business ahead. So I would like to just kind of encourage you to say, take all those issues that you have, create a little timeline on an Excel spreadsheet and say, this must happen here, this must happen there, must happen by that. But if we do it by that time, we have these problems. So what can we do to avoid these problems? Take it. And then you set up a calendar or a strategic plan that you can see will be to the benefit of the company, and it will make everybody thrive. And it's something that you can hand over to the next group of people coming in, and you can explain that. And then maybe I must just add this to that explanation by saying, I did say that April is the month in where we need to do elections and elect the new people. Now, we always train like this, and we say, in April, we have our elections. Then in May, we get the newly elected people to hand over to the previous elected people. And now everybody's mind goes, what? No, it's the old ones that must hand over to the new ones. Again, a positive growth strategy. If you have the new club officer hand over to the old club officer, it means, let's take it from a VPE perspective. That means the new VPE must understand, study, and know what a VPE needs to do, and present that to the previous VPE and say, okay, weekly I need to do this, monthly I need to do that, this is what I need to have in place, that's what I need to do. Then the old VPE can say, okay, what are you going to do here? Okay, and what are you going to do there? That kind of handover forces the new person coming into the position to really learn well what they're supposed to do. And they're coming in with a totally different headset for success. And we set them up for success much better. Then once that handover has taken place in May, then in June, we do tandem leading. We have a club officer meeting, and both sets are there. The old set is sitting back and watching the new ones, having the discussions of what they need to do. The old set is also utilizing the new ones, because now we're at the end of our Toastmasters year and we still want to reach a few DCP goals, or we need a few members, or we need something. And now we can grab this new club officers, pull them into the last bit of goals we need to reach. They are fresh blood and full of excitement. Sorry. And they bring in that extra energy we need to just cross the line. Then we can see how they handle things. We set them up for success, and there we've handed over powerfully for a new club, because the biggest downfall in clubs often come in that succession taking place. Okay, a few people have gone or dropped off, but it was supposed to be an hour meeting. We are just about finished here. Are there any other questions? Francois, it looks like you have something to say or ask or whatever. Go for it.
Yes, I just wanted to say that I actually like that, because I kept thinking to myself, what is a good way of handing over to the new team? But they instead of me handing over, it is them coming in, because they're going to have all these bright ideas. And obviously you don't want to quench them at all. So just allowing them to be creative and showing and saying these things, then you're able to sort of guide them along. So honestly, I like that approach. And it's something that I think I would want to, I think I would actually put that, because we were trying to figure out how we want to, basically we have an order study then. There's an order study within each role, so they can see exactly what the role is about. So thank you so much.
Okay, I'm happy if that was helpful for you and that you could use that going forward. And really, it is a strategy that sets the new team up for much better success. Anyone else that would like to share anything? We have 5 minutes left, and then we need to close this call. Okay, if you do not have a question, then maybe you would like to. Oh, Tandukazi, you wanted to say something.
Yes, it was more of a comment saying that I think also the training helped me on my side and find a way to attract new members and also learn about the quality of Toastmasters, that you must have 20 members. I think I'll apply what I have learned today on my Komani Toastmasters Club. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Tandukazi. Anybody else? Is it George? You have not said a word. Welcome. Anything from your side?
Hi, Granaby. Hi, everyone. I just did not say a word because I arrived late and didn't have much of your beginning side. But I would say hi, hello. The fewer words and the sections that I had, well, I found them at least not that new, but still refreshing my mind. Thank you.
Wonderful. Where are you dialing in from?
FNB Spy, Mozambique.
Okay, thank you and welcome. Kitty Bone, how are you today? Anything from your side?
Good afternoon. I share the sentiment with George. I joined towards the end, but I'm grateful with the tips that you shared with us, specifically to like the strategies that you need to use to make sure that we set the members to succeed. For me, some of the things, yes, I didn't know how to go about it, and it's a bit of a pain for the clubs. One, to get those members getting in as committee members or exco members, and most importantly, to give them the support that they need. But what you just proposed, I guess it will work better for the old members and the new one taking over, and I appreciate it.
Wonderful. And I did make a recording, as you can see, and we'll make the link available to you because there were some other tips right in the beginning, and then you can just catch those tips as well. Okay, Kitty Bone?
Thank you. We really appreciate it.
Great. Okay, Shana, would you like to close off with something from your side? And then I think everybody had an opportunity to say something.
Yes, thank you very much. I found this so incredibly helpful. I can't begin to, I know it seems like I'm expressing frustration, but it's also such a good learning opportunity. You know, things like I didn't think to do a strat plan, and I was like, well, that's the most obvious thing to do. You know, sometimes we get so stuck in a situation we don't see past, or we don't see potential solutions. So thank you so much for that. I'm busy making notes as we speak. I've got so much that I want to discuss with my exco at our next meeting. So I've really, really, really found this incredibly helpful. Yeah, I think more so than some of my other sessions. So thank you.
Wonderful.
And to everybody who's asked the questions, because it helps us all grow.
Yes.
So thanks so much, Granny B.
And can you see, it is a team event. If we don't team together, we can't work in silos. We have to be connected so that we can be more successful. It's in our connection that our success comes. I just have one last question to ask you and to say, if you don't mind, I don't know which group you saw me advertise this, whether it was the corporate group, whether you've joined the corporate group or the treasurer's group or the president's group, whichever group you were in where I advertised this. I'd like to ask you to just share with people that you learned something or something valuable that you learned, so that when I share the link, people are encouraged to just go and watch and learn as well. Okay. Thank you everyone for coming today. You know, we are Toastmasters. We begin on time, we end on time, and this is it. I hope to see you on the Hall of Fame at ThunderCon. And I'm speaking to you too, Francois.
Thanks so much, everybody. You'll be seeing us there.
Good. All
Challenge
the best.
accepted.
There we go. Bye-bye, everyone.
Keep well. Bye.
Bye. I'm ending the meeting now. Bye-bye.